This is an explicit podcast, so please leave your MOTHER space FUCKERS kids in their GOD space DAMN.
I really hope these kids can't spell.
Game Genies.
Welcome to Game Genies. My name is Fred. I am joined by
the magnificent Ryan, sexy man. He comes to life when you open up the can.
We are coming hot off the trails of E3, and
It was exhausting.
It was exhausting, but we're happy.
It was an exhausting episode.
We're happy to be back. Well, it was an exhausting two-part episode. Double
Correct.
the work, double the fun. Actually, it was more like 50 times the work because
Did you try to spearmint gum my ass?
I did.
Okay. But yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot to do. It was a lot of shit last week. I was exhausted. I have ulcers. I have stomach cramps. I'm drinking peppermint tea instead of alcohol this week. It's just
Ryan is basically
life
dead.
Yeah, I'm dead. Speaking of dead, Fred is coming here on Sunday.
I'm coming to Austin, Texas for the first time in, 8 years?
Mm-hmm. And then I'll be going to New York for the first time in my life.
Yeah. First
But that's
time
not
ever.
until later this year. Before we get into everything, make sure you smash that like and subscribe button on Twitter's, Instagrams, at
Game Genies Cast.
And then I guess you could subscribe if you want to the podcast, but I don't know why you would want to do that.
You can also find Ryan here at West Texas Hell, and you can find me, Fred, at FreddySgetti, Freddy Sketty.
I hope these kids can spell. See what I did there? It's a playback to earlier.
Yeah. Just to give you a little background on Game Genies, Game Genies is a dangerously cheesy podcast where we yell at each other so that you don't have to. We use our lifetime's worth of gaming knowledge to give you the insight into today's most interesting games that you might not already have. And if you do have that knowledge,
go fuck yourself.
there you go.
Can I be the one that always says that?
Yeah.
Yay. It's the little things in life.
You want to get into Top of the Tops?
Go to the
Top of the Tops.
Top of the tops. You didn't let me finish my sound.
You want to lead this one?
I will. We're going to talk about some games we've been playing this week. I'm not going to mention them right now because then we don't fucking talk about it.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about any last-minute news from E3 that might have slipped under the cracks. If you are familiar with Fred, he always has his butt crack hanging out from his pants because they're always riding a little bit low. So there's a lot of things that can slip under the cracks, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
Fred's going to touch base on this lawsuit in regards to Friday Night Lights.
Friday the 13th.
I'm sorry.
Friday the 13th, the horror movie franchise.
Well, on some Friday the 13th, there would be Friday Night Lights at the same time here in Texas, right?
Technically, if it was a Friday night and there were lights, and it was Friday the 13th.
And it was during football season, that's where the name Friday Night Lights comes from, Fred.
Sure.
Are you not familiar with this?
I am.
Okay, anyway, Fred's going to just touch on that one because he brought that to my attention. I'm going to be discussing some current events, even as current up to the minute as this morning, if I can fucking speak in proper sentences.
You cannot.
The Disney bid that they just submitted for the acquisition of Fox. There's some bidding, a sort of a bidding war going on between Disney and Comcast, and we're going to kind of touch on what that means for the future of games, and more specifically Fox IPs if Disney does acquire them. Last but not least, we're going to go over two things we wanted to go over during E3, but we didn't have the time.
I like that
The first one, yeah, thank you. The first one is streaming games, and I mean not streaming games in the sense that the casual person might think. I mean, like, you're playing a game that's hosted on a cloud server that you're streaming. Resident Evil 7 for for Switch, Steam Link, and EA mentioned it in their press conference. So we're going to touch on that. And then finally, I want to talk about something that I noticed when I went to go purchase a video game on my Amazon Prime account, which is they have a trade-in policy, though, that is very helpful if you are into that sort of thing, which I no longer am because I am a fucking adult and I just keep my games. Samesies. Okay, what's for the first games we're playing? Let's do that little like.
You know, I figured out I don't have that sound effect anymore.
Motherfucker.
I'm going to use this one instead.
It wasn't as good.
It was
not as good.
All right.
How did you? Can you try to recreate that one at some point? Or if it worst case scenario, go to one of her old fucking casts
and I'll pull
cut
it out
from that. Yeah, pull it out. Just pull it out like you would. Nope, not going to go there. But it was going to be a sex related thing. You can just imagine where my mind and my body was going.
Yeah. Well, do you want to start this one out? I haven't heard enough of Yakuza 6, and I know you've been playing that, so let's hear it.
Our friend Dennis, he's always been talking to me about these Yakuza games. He played Yakuza 0, and he was like, Yakuza 6 for E3 is on sale for $40, like the special edition with the art book. It was the same price as the regular edition, so I mean, I just bought the special edition on Amazon. It was $40. It just came out in April. I come to find out they've made a Yakuza game since like 2003 every single year, essentially. Isn't that crazy, Fred?
Every year?
Every fucking year. And like they're all quality games. Like they're not... A couple of them have been kind of shit. Like they made a zombie one that was a spin... They've done... In between the actual series regulars, like 1 through 6, and I guess you would count 0 as one of these series regulars because it's a prequel to all of the whole thing. But
right.
They've had these random spinoffs. They've had one that goes back into like Samurai Japan. I don't know what the hell you would call that. There's a fucking phrase, and I'm just an idiot for not knowing it. Fuck, what was it called? That period in Japan.
Feudal
Japan. Fred, this is why I keep you around. They had a spinoff that was a zombie spinoff, where like the city in Tokyo or the province that you're always in Tokyo gets fucking infested with zombies, and it's more of a shooter. Because essentially what this game is, I would compare it a little bit to Shenmue. It's developed by Sega. It's one of their biggest franchises since they've went straight to developing.
You're not body shaming the franchise, are you? You said it's a big franchise, or you're not body shaming the franchise, are you?
Jesus Christ, Jesus. I'm not body shaming.
Okay.
Is it really body shaming though? I mean,
it's okay to be a big franchise, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, it's not okay for me to be fat to myself because I don't want to be.
You don't want to be fat, but you won't change your ways.
Yeah, so I keep eating like a fucking idiot. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is it's one of those franchises that, man, we just really went right into this fucking talking about games today, didn't we?
Yeah, which is...
Usually we take like 10 minutes. I just realized that. Let's spend 10 minutes to just talk about some fun stuff. I'm kidding. No, we're going... Okay. So Yakuza essentially takes place in Japan. You play as a guy. I'm going to fuck it up. I'm not even going to say the name.
Can you play as a female?
There actually is. You play as one of the female characters in the 5th one. So before you get ahead of yourself, yes, they do.
All right.
You can. So in this game, it takes place in Japan, modern day Japan. So essentially, when the first one came out in 03, 05 or something like that, I want to say it was 05. On the PlayStation 2, it took place in 2005. And so pretty much you've followed these characters for the last like almost decade and a half. The newest game takes place in 2016, so I guess it's a little bit. But I mean, I think it was getting developed during 2016, so that was why. But you play as Kazuma Kiryu. I think I said that right. Who is part of the Yakuza, or he was one of the high-ups in the Yakuza gang. He leaves. A bunch of shit happens. He ends up protecting this little girl who actually you grow up with as well, seeing her throughout these games. And she is now an adult, has her own child. And that's where 6 kind of picks up, is that you're kind of looking for her because she got... I mean, you went to jail to protect her or something like that at the end of 5. All these games... They're fucking a series, so like, but you can still pick it up, and it kind of explains to you what the hell's going on. So I'm not completely lost. As far as the 3rd one, like he had a orphanage he opened up, and then in this one, you are trying to clean your life up so you can go back to the orphanage and like just help people there, because that's what you kind of want to just like retire and be done with the crime life of Japanese crime culture. The way it plays is a lot like Shenmue. I think I mentioned that a couple minutes ago and never actually followed up, but it plays a little bit like Shenmue because you're traveling through this like little section of Tokyo, and that's like your neighborhood that you're always going to. And there've always been like throughout the games smaller maps as well of different spots. Like I believe in this one, Hiroshima, you go there. So you're dealing with your province that you're always going to, and you also get to visit Hiroshima. But like, there's all these shops you can go into. Our friend Dennis bought a pornographic, excuse me if I can fucking speak, a pornographic magazine for a 12-year-old. Okay. So, yeah, that's one of the side missions. You go. This little 12-year-old kid wants you to go buy him a porno mag, so you have to sneak around these adults and go buy him and give him a fucking porno mag.
Those Japanese.
Yeah, and he starts like jumping up and down. I think you buy used panties for people at some point throughout the game. I swear to God, this is all real shit.
Those Japanese.
It's a very like immersive game, and the storyline's always cool. The cutscenes are great. There's a lot of cutscenes, but I mean, just essentially you're playing a movie, and there is some cool gameplay, which has definitely progressed over the years. But it's very, I don't know, I would say beat 'em up, but
would you say it's like GTA, or if you were to use GTA as a base, how would you?
I would actually say a combination of GTA meets Tekken.
Really? So the fighting is more involved in.
Yes, for sure. You can like pick up fucking motorcycles if you get in your like crazy form, and that's the thing. Like the fighting to me is ridiculous, but the cutscenes are not. So it's almost like it takes you out of the experience, which is fine because it's kind of like, here's the gameplay. We want you to enjoy it, but also you have some fun doing this, but then we're going to cut back and like a bullet might actually kill you, and you're getting shot to shit whenever you're doing these fights in the street.
Are you saying in like the actual battles, like in the game, like some crazy shit happens, it doesn't kill you, but then in the regular story, it's like back to reality?
Yes. Snap back to reality. Whoops, there goes gravity.
Yeah.
Anyway.
If I knew more of the words, I would have.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that.
Could you do that as
cool
Fred
game.
Durst? Like,
no.
Whoop, like,
Stop
whoop,
trying to get me
gravity.
to fucking do it like Fred Durst.
Whoop, there goes gravity.
I haven't really gotten angry over the last couple episodes. I'm sure there might be some shouting from me at some point tonight. So that's a fun game. I'm still early on in it, but it's a lot of fun. There's actually, you can go to the Sega Arcade. And for example, Yakuza 0, which was the prequel, took place in the 80s, and you can go in the Sega's Arcade and play all the old Sega games from the 80s. This one, you can actually play Virtua Fighter 5 in its entirety.
Really?
On this game, yes. And you're actually in the main menu, you can play 2-player Virtua Fighter 5.
That's great.
It is.
That was a good game, too.
Yeah. So it's a good thing. It's a good game. I'm excited for it to get more into it in the story. But the gameplay, the exploration, and the fighting is top-notch, I think. So
cool. So you recommend?
Recommend. I also would say I recommend it.
I've heard that this game also recreates Japan pretty accurately, which
yes.
I can't confirm.
I cannot either. But I will also say one more thing. I know I'm talking a lot about this, but the for example, there was on Yakuza, I think 2 or 3, there was a building being constructed. And on the next game, that building was still there, but it was actually fully constructed. So it's like that's cool. They're very detailed when it comes to the progression of time and everything. And for example, also another cool thing about the time aspect of these games, I think 5th one came out in the wintertime, and it was actually around Christmas in the game whenever it took place.
Oh, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice. Moving on.
Yeah, what did you play this week?
I played some Fortnite on Switch.
Okay.
I don't think there's a whole lot to say about the game itself, but, if anybody is on the fence about it, it runs great. There are a couple of hiccups here and there with what I think might be the servers, and you had gotten disconnected. We tried to play once. But I think one of the big things about Fortnite is that it seems to have changed what Nintendo originally had planned for online play. One of those reasons being that, like, if you have your Epic account connected, you can just connect with your friends if they're on.
I can't.
Through your Epic account. Well.
Oh, I see. Well, I actually signed in a new Epic account, and I was still able to see your Epic account.
Yeah. I'm not sure how that works out, but not complaining. And on top of that, you can plug any old headset with a microphone into your Switch, and you can voice chat.
Yeah, I was using my iPhone headphones.
So
my Apple
for
ones.
anyone else who doesn't know, up until now, with Splatoon 2, you've had to get some stupid splitter connector, plug half of it into your phone, connect to some app on your phone, find your friends somehow, And then the other, you have to connect a headset into the other side of it. So you have to have your phone running on a specific app, and you have to